Hey guys, it's Megan here. I hope that my voice isn't too crazy right now. I'm just coming into a cold. So yay for that. Over the next couple of weeks, I was supposed to record episodes, but I am feeling just really poopy. So we are going to replay some of my all-time favorites until I'm able to get back on my feet and until we are done with the move. Oh my God, you guys, this is happening right now. So over the next couple of weeks, enjoy some of my favorite Stop Sucking at Business episodes. I'll talk to you again soon. It's time to grow your business, stop spinning your wheels, and build the life you deserve. And I'm here to help. My name is Megan Brame. This is Stop Sucking at Business. Hey guys, welcome to the show. My name is Megan Brame. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur. I am here to help you succeed in your small business. So thank you so much for joining me. So for the past couple months, I've been using this service called Board Booster. And what it is a program that basically automates your Pinterest marketing strategies. And not Pinterest ads, but like organic pins and repins and group board interaction and stuff like that. And I was so excited about how well it works for me that I reached out to the owner. His name is Kashkin. And I was like, hey, come on my podcast and tell everybody about Pinterest. And Dennis was like, yeah, totally. So we had a call before and just kind of talked about, strategy and what I want to talk about and things like that. And so you're going to hear this interview coming up in a couple minutes. And I hope it's just really helpful and really valuable for you, because even if you don't use Board Booster and you just want to market Pinterest on your own, first off, you shouldn't be doing that. You know what I always tell you? Automate, delegate, eliminate. Right? But if you're just starting out on Pinterest or you're trying to figure out a strategy, I think the big thing you can take away from this interview is that when you're marketing, when you're using Pinterest as a business rather than as a person, you should consider that Pinterest will not be for you. And I don't mean that you shouldn't be on Pinterest. I mean that when you're pinning, when you're creating pins, boards, things like that, it's not going to be about what you want. It's going to be about what your fans want. And that will help you get ahead of your competitors. It will help you kind of see, should I pin this? Should I not pin this? Is it going to be valuable? Things like that. So once you get into a mentality of Pinterest will be for my fans or my customers, it won't be for me, then you can kind of see the better strategy to use. And that's what I talked to Dennis about. I talked to him about strategy. I talked to him about things that he sees people missing, which can really help. Spoiler, it's SEO. And just different ways to implement. And you can use Board Booster or you can use this on your own. It doesn't have to be either or. I definitely recommend Board Booster. Like I said, I use them, and you can go to meganbrame.com/Board Booster. That's my affiliate link, or just go to boardbooster.com. Either way, Dennis would be happy to have you there. I'd definitely give it a try. I think your first 100 pins are free. Let me double check that. Yes, first 100 pins are free, and then it's like $5 a month after that for the next level. So it's definitely worth giving it a shot. I recommend it. Without further ado, I'll stop talking and I'll let you find out how to succeed at Pinterest with Dennis Kashkin of Board Booster. Dennis, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me.
I am so excited to talk all about Pinterest strategy. But first, can you give people a run over just of your background and about Board Booster?
Oh, sure. I'm a technologist and I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I just happened to fall in love with Pinterest and found myself spending a lot of time pinning and repinning, and basically started feeling some of the pains around, how do you manage your boards when they grow big? How do you keep the quality high enough? And I couldn't resist, but built a few tools for my own use. And then I guess I had to show it to some of my friends, and they got excited. And somehow we've been growing ever since virally. Board Booster tools are still in beta, but we have thousands and thousands of active users, and we still haven't done any advertising. We're still in beta stage software without much documentation, for example. But somehow people figuring it out, and people are very successful using our tools. And I'm still passionate about Pinterest, and I'm learning so much just from talking to Board Booster customers and getting their feedback, getting their ideas. I think time is tremendous now for Pinterest marketers to reach bigger and better audience than ever before. So I'm very excited about Board Booster. It's been a very cool ride.
Absolutely, and I am one of those customers. I've been using Board Booster for I think about 6 weeks, maybe 2 months now, and I knew Pinterest was kind of important, but it felt exhausting to do, and it felt like such a time suck, and because there's so much good stuff on Pinterest. So when I got to play with Board Booster, it was just like, this is so easy. This is so amazing. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, because I feel like a lot of people get intimidated by Pinterest and feel like, oh, I've just got to go through, spend all this time on Pinterest, and then people get overwhelmed because there's so much on there. So if you were starting to just develop your Pinterest strategy from scratch, let's say like you had an Etsy site or you were a crafter or something, what would make you want to go to Pinterest? What do you feel Pinterest provides that is a better way to promote than like a Twitter or Facebook?
Oh, great question. I think this is not true for everybody, right? This, Pinterest is a great tool for marketers that have something visual to market. So if you are an Etsy store that sells some great looking products, then yes, this is probably a good match. And what makes Pinterest kind of uniquely interesting compared to other, I don't want to say social networks, because Pinterest no longer considers themselves a social network. But what's unique on Pinterest is, first of all, the audience. It's people that are looking for aspiration, people that want to discover some new ideas, new cool artworks, new things to do, recipes, etc. Mm-hmm. It's primarily mobile and primarily female audience. It's an international audience, and there's some convincing research that shows that this audience has a very strong intention to buy. So when people click on your pin, they've been already very qualified. They've seen the visual, the image associated with your pin. They've read the description. So the fact that they want more is a good sign that they're probably going to convert. Whatever you're doing on your website, this visitor is more kind of pre-qualified than a person that found you on Google or just some random visitor.
Or do you think even more so than Instagram?
Instagram doesn't link to your website, so mm-hmm. as a traffic generator, I don't think Instagram is as powerful as Pinterest. Although the two systems do a lot of things that are similar. Mm-hmm. And obviously, Instagram has a bigger audience, but I would say their focus is not the same. Instagram is rooted in kind of amateur quality visuals, usually made with smartphones, and Pinterest is more about, I think Pinterest grew due to a lot of bloggers spending a lot of time making more professionally looking pins. So, the average quality level may be a little better on Pinterest when it comes to just people discovering content that they want to engage with. But by now, Pinterest has definitely reached the critical mass. There's over 100 million active users on Pinterest. So that's an audience you don't want to neglect, especially if you have some visual products or services to promote. And another unique aspect of Pinterest, it's the way Pinterest is used resembles. It's very different from, say, Twitter, where everything you post on Twitter, is no longer that relevant after a few days. It's really focused on the current moment. And Pinterest is more about creating collections of things that will remain valuable for years to come. If you create a board with some artworks or recipes or fashion, chances are this board will get a lot of users, not just the first week, but the first year and second year and third year. So everything you do there is an investment that has much longer kind of lifespan. And one of the big reasons why it works this way is, Pinterest audience actually uses the search and different discovery tools, which bring up content that is relevant to their interests, but not necessarily brand new. So in this way, building your Pinterest boards is more similar to building a website than, say, adding content to Twitter, where it's probably not going to generate traffic a year from now.
That makes total sense. And I see that a lot of people seem to use Pinterest for, like you said, like these collection boards and things like that. And so when you're marketing, it seems to be that, I mean, this is true in, blogging and any kind of, media outreach where you want to include other people's things too, right? So like Gary Vaynerchuk says, it's like jab, 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 right hook, where your product is the right hook and the jabs are other people's things to give this kind of comprehensive value thing. So do you ever notice, just with Board Booster or things like that, like, is there a good ratio to look for when you're doing your pin, like your product versus, like, if I was do you know what I'm trying to say?
Right. So on Pinterest, you can both create brand new pins that link to, say, any content on your website, or content on other people's websites that you like, or you can repin other people's pins. And I find that with rare exceptions, people on Pinterest like to repin a lot.
Right.
And if you look at the most successful pinners, the pinners that have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands or millions of followers and get a lot of traffic to their websites, they're never just pinning their own content. With very few exceptions, there are some brands that have so much content that they can be always active and always interesting, just publishing their existing content. Say, Jet Setter Photo, for example, has millions of followers, and they have a huge database of cool photos from different resorts that they can pin day and night. But most others, even if you're an Etsy store, you probably have a limited supply of your own product photos that you want to share on Pinterest. By the virtue of being an expert in a certain field, you probably you can add value by curating relevant content created by others, and basically your part of your pinning strategy could be creating the most comprehensive collection on whatever topic. Say if you're into fashion, then you could be creating some amazing fashion boards that happen to include some of your own products as well as other brands, and that works really well on Pinterest because people that stumble upon your board might be more likely to follow you when they see that you're not just being selfish and pinning your own stuff only, but you're actually sharing some of your talents when you're finding really cool looking products and adding them to your board. So yes, I definitely recommend publishing a good mix of your own content and third-party content. And some research we've done shows that the most successful pinners happen to be actually less selfish than average. They repin a lot more than they push their own stuff to the point where people that have millions of followers, they tend to publish less than I think 15% of their own pins. So a good 85% of their pins you find that they add to boards are not their own pins.
I love that. And I love that you said, it kind of sets you up as you're not just pushing your stuff all the time. Like you're trying to actually be and offer value and, like be seen as someone that just, I make jewelry, but here's all of this stuff, amazing stuff from Fashion Week. And, my necklace kind of fits into this outfit,
Yep.
I love that. But you were talking about successful pinners and just success in general. What do you think are some good metrics to measure to say if you feel like a Pinterest campaign is working?
A lot of people would say that, a successful pinner can be easily defined as, somebody who, amassed a large following. Like if you have millions of followers, you're probably reasonably successful on Pinterest. But that's definitely not the only metric to care about, because I've seen some Pinterest accounts that have millions of followers, but their audience is not valuable because the way they acquired it was in the early days of Pinterest, where new users were forced to follow somebody.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Pinterest started requiring people to follow a few others, and they were kind of making recommendations based on your location and such. So, say if you happen to be one of the first bloggers in Paris to sign up for Pinterest, then chances are you'd see that a lot of new people from France are suddenly following your account, which interesting, but oftentimes that audience ended up not being very valuable, because when you start publishing new pins, they're not really engaging with them. You don't really get the traffic. So I think more reliable metrics are probably based around traffic that you get from Pinterest, based around metrics on content that you've published recently. Like if you added 100 new pins this year, and if you have a good way to measure how the Pinterest audience engaged with those pins, things like how many impressions and clicks and repins you received, those engagement metrics are probably much better indicators of how successful you are. If you want, just as a fresh story in my mind, I recently talked to a blogger that decided to start blogging just a year ago, a little more than a year now. But she started blogging. She found her niche. She started her Pinterest account, and basically in a year, she managed to get close to 1 million monthly visitors to her blog from Pinterest. And she also found some really good ways to monetize that traffic, that audience. She made some partnerships with some companies that make products that are very interesting to her followers. Her followers were responding really well to information about those products, and she's basically like a millionaire.
She's killing it. Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, totally. And it's so fun to hear stories like this. And I think the opportunity on Pinterest very much exists today. Some people think that's you could only easily quickly get from zero to most people would call a successful Pinterest marketing campaign. in the early days, but in reality, I still see those success stories now, and they're probably more impressive now than in the early days because the audience is so much bigger. Yeah, the tools are a lot better. Even Pinterest's own analytics are becoming really powerful, and people that approach their Pinterest marketing professionally, they finally have pretty good tools to measure how their content performs and optimize from there.
That makes sense. And yeah, especially like you said, there's such a critical mass there, but I think that there's opportunity in that because you can really define a niche, right? You can really just kind of like, these are my people, and I don't care if I'm not getting 100 million reach. I care about the 10,000 reach of like this really targeted group. So that's amazing. So when you're developing a strategy for Pinterest, what are some good things to keep in mind?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I think you have to start with almost the philosophical question of what does it take to succeed on Pinterest, and there will be multiple answers, but I think one important thing early on is to understand that Pinterest is not a hard-coded machine, sort of like early days of Google. There was a fixed algorithm, and everybody who can guess how it works was able to optimize their websites to perform better on against that specific algorithm. And a lot of people were successfully driving a lot of traffic from Google by kind of following all these algorithm changes and making optimizations based on that. But Pinterest is using a lot of artificial intelligence. They hired some of the best experts in the world on this subject. So it's not a hard-coded algorithm. It's a very sophisticated machine that is powerful enough to analyze just about everything that you do. And what's important to understand is everything you publish on your boards sends signals to Pinterest about how good you are at meeting the needs of your audience compared to other pinners that probably have similar content to yours. Like there's not a topic on Pinterest that's all their topics are very popular, right? So if you're pinning jewelry, you can't be sure there are thousands of other really cool Pinterest accounts that have boards dedicated to jewelry. So whenever somebody is searching Pinterest for jewelry or using their discovery tools, Pinterest has this interesting challenge. I got jewelry pins from thousands of pinners. Which ones should I present first? And that's where they use all this artificial intelligence to figure it out. So some very basic ideas, like if you're contributing to a group board, for example, every time you add a pin and then somebody else adds a pin, Pinterest can see, how many repins your pin received over, the first 24 hours versus other people's pins. And if your pins on average do a lot better than other contributors' pins, then guess what? You're sending the right signals to this machine that you have an extraordinary talent when it comes to curating, jewelry related content.
Interesting.
That helps your whole, account, your personal boards dedicated on to the same topic. That will help them perform. And the opposite is true. If you're not paying attention, like you got invited to some board that doesn't have a very clear focus, and you could be just adding whatever content you got to that board and not paying attention to how well it performs compared to other people's content. You could be hurting yourself if this content does not meet the expectations of the audience of that board. Then people will not engage with it. And even though the content could be high quality, but the fact that you're publishing it in the wrong to the wrong audience,
you're off point. Yeah.
It will result in poor engagement metrics, and you'll convince spinners that you don't have a talent in this area. And it's going to be harder for you to get a lot of traction with down the road. So I think measuring everything you do and thinking about like quality, thinking about the particular audience and how you can help them
So
is
being
very helpful.
intentional.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's definitely an intelligent machine. I'm talking about Pinterest, and if you can get a good hang of how it operates and continually optimize your pinning strategy towards achieving better metrics, which means you're also better meeting the needs of your audience. That's a good path to fast growth and success on Pinterest.
Okay. That makes sense. So basically, being intentional and making sure that you're kind of staying on message through all of your pins. Would that be, yeah? Because I know that.
Also,
Go ahead.
just quality.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that's very easy for Pinterest to measure is, what happens when people engage with your content. You add a pin, somebody clicks on it. Pinterest can easily see how much time they're spending on the website that was loaded through this pin.
Oh, wow.
If everybody comes right back, chances are you're sending people to a web page that does not really do a good job engaging them with that content.
Uh-huh.
Again, it's a bad message to send. You're better off making sure that the drop-off rate on your landing pages is as small as possible, and people actually spend significant time on your website after clicking on your pins.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing you could do is actually publish a pin with broken link. And here's one gotcha that some beginner pinners don't always understand. It's very common on the web to be changing your URLs of your pages, to be changing the domain of your website. And technically, it's very easy to do that. But suppose you've pinned something from your website, and thousands of other Pinterest users repinned it. What does it mean? When they repin, they create a copy of your pin that now sits on their personal board and belongs to them. So when you change say your website domain
Mm-hmm.
or URL structure, if you don't take a really good care that the old URL still up and running and properly redirects all traffic to the new location, then not only you're losing all the traffic that's gonna keep coming from those pins that were created before this change, you're also potentially showing that you don't care about people that click on your pins as much as some other pinners do. So you cannot change it. You see how like the copies of the pins that reside on your personal boards, you can go back, edit them, and change the source link. But this has no impact on all the copies of your pins that belong to other people. So the best idea is to either just stick with your URL structure, don't mess it up, or when you're making some much needed changes, say for SEO purposes, then definitely set up 301 redirects and make sure that the traffic that goes to your old URLs will be automatically quickly redirected to the new URL, and your visitors will not see any problems.
That makes sense. I actually had to do that recently where I had my old domain was Handmade Brooklyn, and then I decided to go having a domain with my name, and my stuff was WordPress, but I was very intentional on making sure like everything has the same URL structure so that I can do that 301 redirect and make sure, because I knew that Pinterest was going to be the big, and I didn't want it to kind of get back to Pinterest that I had, telling the teacher that I had changed things and getting penalized for it. So yeah, I think that makes total sense. And I also noticed when I was trying to work out a Pinterest strategy was that, I have my business, but my husband and I are moving later on. So I've been, doing like what kind of kitchen do I want and but I've been keeping that away from my Pinterest, my business Pinterest, because I just feel like my readers would be like, "What? This is? I don't care about your kitchen." You know what I mean? Like I'm here to learn about this.
And there's nothing wrong with owning more than one Pinterest account, and I would even say it helps to have an account that has one clear focus.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I stumble upon an account that starts with like, hey, I'm a professional photographer that I devote my whole career to bird photography. Mm-hmm. So if I'm into birds, then it's a no-brainer. I want to follow this guy and get all the best shots he publishes. But if your account sounds like I love everything in the world, I'm going to pin everything, that potentially, following your whole account means that I will get a lot of pins on my feed that don't match any of my personal interests.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So if you want to have those kind of personal, collections of, kitchens and things, for your own need, you can either use secret boards on your business account for that, or just create a separate account that's your personal stuff.
I was going to ask you about that actually when it comes to secret boards. Does Pinterest monitor that at all when it comes to the overall quality or helpfulness of your account? Or is it just, they're like, this is secret for a reason, so we won't count that? I
personally believe that everything on your secret boards has no impact on performance of your public boards. Mm-hmm. I know some pinners use secret boards to just kind of dump a lot of content that random quality. They think they'll do something with it later, and it does not seem to have any negative impact on performance of their public boards.
Okay, good to know.
But it does help to really invest in the quality of your public boards. Things like, making sure most of your pins are based on nice big photos, ideally with vertical orientation. Things like making sure that every pin has a source link, and make sure that those source links work and you don't get like a broken page message when you click on the pins. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the web that some resources disappear and some old links stop working. So the fact that Pinterest is basically a bookmarking system on steroids, it doesn't avoid this problem. If you pinned some great dress a few years ago, who knows, that little website that posted that dress back then may be out of business and no longer serving any content. So by keeping that pin and not fixing it to produce something relevant, you're potentially not meeting the needs of your audience and kind of hurting your account level quality score per se.
Just a quick side plug here. Board Booster has a broken link checker, doesn't it?
Oh, we call it Pin Doctor. Actually, it's more than just broken links. It just Pin Doctor tests your pins for 9 different common problems, including some tricky things like duplication of content, like linking to websites that redirect to potentially unsafe content, or even things like linking to potentially irrelevant content. And that's actually hard to detect automatically, but we're trying to do a good job on that, and basically trying to look for the images on the website that opens when somebody clicks on your link, and trying to find and confirm whether this is related to the content on your actual pin. Board Booster is trying to help with quality because, frankly, nobody has the time and the patience to go back to pins that you created, 5 years ago and test if their links still work and still produce some relevant content.
Can you imagine, what did you do today? I went to my 5-year-old pins and checked to make sure.
And you know what? One interesting stat from, if you look at an average successful Pinterest account, an account that has thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers, on average, they have over 20,000 pins. So to me, going back and checking them for errors is just a non-starter.
No, absolutely.
I hope one day Pinterest will just offer some direct assistance with this, because truth is, they probably know with pretty decent degree of certainty which of your pins are no longer producing the right contents.
Mm-hmm.
But so far they haven't started helping pinners solve this problem. I hope they will, and I'm trying to lead by example here.
I was gonna say that's what Board Booster is for. Hint, hint,
Yeah.
people. What do you think about adding Pinterest ads into strategy? I know that they're starting to expand it globally. Do you think that Pinterest ads are a good thing to implement early on, or do you think that's sort of like a wait and see kind of thing?
I personally like to test everything, and I've seen plenty of situations where the same exact strategy works great for one account and doesn't work at all for another account.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally some very successful pinners that use promoted pins and get good results. And I also know people that tried them and figured that it's a lot more expensive than, say, buying traffic on Google. If you have a budget for advertising, why not compare side to side how well your Facebook advertising works versus Google versus Pinterest, and then decide. To me, it makes perfect sense. And Pinterest is making some changes recently. They used to show the metrics like number of repins and likes that were based on specific instance of the pin, and now they're changing kind of gradually to showing the aggregate metrics across all the
I noticed that
boards. And that's one interesting side effect of this is when you're looking at a pin located on any board, it's now hard to say if this pin got so many repins because at some point in time it was promoted.
Interesting. And that's sort of frustrating to see, like, has this, like, where did the most repins kind of come from? Like, was it with this group board, or was it a promoted pin, or why do you think they're doing that?
Well, in the past, if you search Pinterest, it was very easy to guess. Oftentimes in search results, they directly indicate that this is a promoted pin.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go to some account, like if you follow some board, and it used to be very easy to see which pinners are basically buying their way to success versus growing organically. And some of us don't like to see too many promoted pins on their feeds, and gravitate towards pinners that are successful, not because they spend a lot of money, but because they spend a lot of time on content and curation and such things. So Pinterest is definitely making it a little harder to figure out why every particular pin you're looking at is so successful. So that probably works well in terms of, it might work well for advertisers.
Oh, got it. Mm-hmm.
I don't know yet if it's gonna represent a challenge for regular Pinterest marketers. We'll see. Anyways, to answer your question, if you have a budget, why not try promoted ads and compare how well they work with your other advertising channels?
Just a little sidebar to that. I've done promoted ads before, and I've noticed that for the most part, it seems they just kind of dump the budget early. And so I've been noticing that, and I use Board Booster for this, where I can see the Board Booster has these stats. I know you know this, but for the people listening, Board Booster has these stats that show that when you get the most repins during the week or during the weekend, like what are the times during the day, the specific like hours. And so I've used that to be like, okay, I set a reminder on my phone, like 7 p.m. on Saturdays, turn on Pinterest campaign, and then 9 p.m. on Saturdays, turn off Pinterest campaign, just so that way I'm really getting the most reach to the people that are interested in what I have to say for my ads.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Sure.
We covered this a little bit, and I know we're getting close to the end, so I will keep this question pretty short for you, but we covered some of this before, but what do you usually see people overlooking that can really help them get ahead? So I know you'd said before, like, make sure your links are going to the right place. Are there any other things that they should pay attention to?
Actually, a lot of things, like SEO, for example. Like, you want to make sure that everything you pin has a good, meaningful description that helps Pinterest find your pin when somebody is searching for relevant keywords.
Oh, that is such a good point. I see so many people that just have like the title of the picture on there, and it's like you're missing a huge opportunity there.
Similarly, when you're creating your boards and even your account, you're also entering some text there. You have to come up with the name of the board, the description of the board. Same thing for the account. And it's been a fashion on Pinterest to create boards with I'd use the word silly names, or put a lot of special characters there. So people are definitely not thinking about keywording first. They're thinking about making it look, kind of express their creativity first. But I think professional Pinterest marketers should probably consider the search optimization whenever they're entering any text in Pinterest, whether it's naming your account, your boards, you're creating your pin descriptions. And also when you repin something that does not have a good description, that's your chance to basically outperform the original creator of this pin by entering a better description. And it happens all the time that somebody, some photographer will create a pin that has a great image but does not have a good description. And then you can repin it, give it a good description, and sure enough, your copy of that pin will get much better metrics. And that helps, even though it probably doesn't drive traffic to you. It still shows that, hey, you're good at collecting this kind of content, and one day you will create your own pins on the same topic, and they'll have a better chance to compete with other publishers.
Sort of like the star pupil, like Pinterest will pay more attention to you because you've done the extra work to make it valuable.
Yeah, I think everything you do, every time you create any piece of content, it's used to measure how good you are. Yeah.
That makes sense. Do you see a lot of people doing things with do you think there's a big thing metric wise for putting a call to action in the description, or do you think that's just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't? Click here to shop or something.
This is a very good question. I think it varies greatly based on the type of content.
Okay.
Sometimes it's obvious why you should click. And some other times not. Like, say, not the best example, but if your pin is a joke, right? So some funny pin. Well, you can get the joke by just looking at the pin. You don't have to click on it, right? So the only chance of using that pin for driving traffic would be if you add a reason to click on it. Maybe like, hey, the rest of my favorite jokes are here.
Love that. That's so, and especially like, people use so many quotes, like inspirational quotes and things like that. Yep. And that just ends up getting repinned. But I would think that, if you're adding call to action or something, people would be like, oh, wait, there's more. I'm going to go check this site out. That's a good point.
Yep.
Love that. Well, Dennis, where can people find you out in the world?
Austin, Texas. No. I'm the founder of Board Booster. So I'm happy to talk to everybody who signs up for Board Booster, and our support email is support@boardbooster.com. Having said this, you don't have to be a customer to talk to me. Just shoot a question, and I'll make sure I'll get back to everybody.
And I can vouch that Dennis is the one that answers the emails. I've asked him a couple of crazy questions before, and it's always been Dennis getting back to me.
I do try to handle most of the support for Board Booster. I think it's just tremendous value for basically any early stage product to be like directly in touch with users, to feel every pain point they feel, and that really informs all the product decisions and prioritization decisions. So for foreseeable future, I'll try my best to keep being on top of all the customer communication.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Megan. It's fun talking to you, and best luck with your show.
Great, thanks. Helpful, right? So helpful. I learned so much, and I've been using Board Booster for a couple months now, like I said, so it's so fascinating, right? Like all of the little things you don't think about. And Pinterest can be overwhelming, I think, and it doesn't have to be, much like any of these social media things, right? But I think that I really wanted to focus on talking about Pinterest and bringing Dennis on to talk about Pinterest because it is so useful, especially as compared to Instagram or Twitter or even Facebook. I mean, like he said, these people are qualified. They're they're into it. They want your stuff. And it just, unlike Instagram, it just click right here. Boom, right? So I hope this helps you in your Pinterest campaigns. And once again, thank you to Dennis for coming on the show. Check out his site, check out his app, boardbooster.com, or you can use my affiliate link, meganbrame.com/boardbooster. Until next week, have a fantastic week. I hope you kill it. We'll talk soon.